don't look as weird either.
So
take two.
Beth at Sun King here in Fishers. So Beth is the marketing director and all the hats for all the marketing things with Sun King, and she has so graciously given us about an hour of her time today to talk about Sun King and their journey through social media over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So welcome, Beth.
Tell
us a little bit about yourself, about your history with Sun King, about what degree you got, because all the students want to know.
My name is Beth Belangi. I am the marketing, promotion, social media director for Sun King Brewery. There's a couple other things behind that, but anyway, I graduated from Indiana University with a degree in sociology. Clearly did not go that route. I actually did all of my internships in sales. And that's actually what led me into marketing. And I actually planned events prior, but it was a combo goal of events and marketing because those two kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Which led me to actually start working for Sun King 10 years ago, almost exactly.
That's
so
crazy. Almost a decade of your life has been donated
crazy
to this company.
Right.
Donated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So today we're going to kind of talk about y'all's social media journey, which I'm super excited about. This is for my social media marketing students. And I think it will be, you guys have done so much. And even in the last, I think it's been 5 years almost that we've been kind of talking. And
has it been 5 years already?
Wow. 2016.
That's fantastic.
I know.
I had no idea. I'm glad that's a nice little nugget. I'm going to have to write that down.
That your social media just continues to evolve. And you know, I've had several classes work with y'all, and you talk to us a ton, which we love.
That video came up the other day.
Did it?
Yeah, and I love because it's still saved. Yeah, the rap, and it's still saved on my phone, but it came up in memories where I was just like, I need to do something with this because it's just so great. They did such a great job.
Yeah, it's such a good rap. So if you're curious, you can find it on my professor page, what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
From 2017, Vince and his team with Rachel Knoll, the Key Value Must Go.
Yep.
So what I wanted to start with is just tell us a little bit about the evolution of Sun King's social media.
Sure. 12 years ago when Sun King opened their doors, one of our co-founders, Clay Robinson, actually set up the accounts, was like, I'm gonna have all the time in the world to do this.
Oh, yeah, really.
Yeah, he's not a busy guy or anything, starting a new company or anything like that. He very quickly realized that it was more than he could manage and that it was too much to be put on his plate. And when I started, we actually had somebody that was helping write some content and helping do some editing, but his passion wasn't social media. He liked doing blogs. He liked working in the community and doing some of the community outreach stuff. After he parted ways with Sun King, not in a bad way, he's just a journalist at heart. He went back to actually doing journalism. So after he parted ways, that's where I was just like, hi, it's me. I know how to do all these things. I have previous experience from my previous job on helping run and manage and doing some marketing with social media outlets. And you know, that was still the kind of early days of Facebook and Instagram and really Twitter before Twitter became, you know, crazy Twitter. So we went from just posting on Facebook and Twitter to really utilizing Instagram. But Clay at that time was still kind of using Instagram as his kind of own journey. And some of his experiences rather than targeting it and using it towards marketing to people, because he still hadn't fully, I don't think anybody had really fully grasped the concept of using Instagram as a means to actually market to the consumer and market to fans.
So to tell your story.
Right, and you can tell a story in a completely different way with pictures. You know, Twitter limits you with so many characters. Instagram, people love watching videos, people love looking at pretty pictures, and that's what entices people. And yes, you can absolutely do those things with Facebook too, but it's a completely different platform. And as a marketing person, you will learn that there are nuances to each and everything.
Absolutely.
And people follow different things for a reason because that's where they get their information. So yeah.
Okay, so the next thing I want to kind of talk about is you focus on a lot of different components of social media in the different platforms. So tell us a little bit about what you use kind of the different platforms for.
We focus on like four main objectives when it comes to interacting with people on social media. Brand awareness. So is there a new product? Is there a new brand? Are we launching a completely new series of something like our hard seltzers or something like that? So focusing on that call to action. First and foremost, getting people into our chat rooms, making sure that they're aware that our chat rooms are family friendly, that there's carry out capabilities, and that there's a local food partner at every single one,
Which is new.
which is a completely new concept for us, because when we very first opened, we didn't have food. It was you came in, you grabbed your growlers, and you walked out, and you might have done sampling on Fridays when there was complimentary sampling happening.
Yeah.
And then growing that and teaching people, because there are still people that think that
No food.
there's no food, and then we still have people that think that there's sample flights only on Friday nights and things like that. So increasing the awareness there, increasing the call to action into Indiana market. We sell 80% of our product in Indiana still, but we are also distributed in Illinois, so Chicagoland area, and Kentucky, so northern Kentucky, so close to Louisville, Cincinnati, even though we're not in Cincinnati, like that whole area up on the northern border, and also Florida. And everyone's like, why Florida? Well, there are a lot of Hoosiers that love to go to Florida.
That's where we all go.
Yeah, and my fiance is from California, and he still just doesn't understand why Hoosiers literally pack up their car and drive to Florida. He's like, I just don't get it. Yeah, he's like, I don't get it. Why do you do that? So, right, we just literally can't help ourselves. And then from occasion, we actually do one-off distributions where we'll do beer drops in some different cities through a different distributor who focuses primarily on bringing unique craft beer to cities and to bars, restaurants, and liquor stores that specialize in craft. So one of our bigger beers, GFJ or Grapefruit Jungle, that's one that will be dropped here soon in some other cities, because people it's a very highly anticipated IPA. People go bananas over it. So doing that.
Excited about that.
And then Sun King's ethos, identity. So our community givings, how we serve our community, that we are a fun company and a fun culture. So wrapping those things all in on that ethos, on that identity. And then lastly, engaging our consumer and actually our staff. And we do that with giveaways. We do that with supporting nonprofits and doing dollar back pint nights and things like that. And then really actually focusing on humanizing our brand, because yes, there's beer, yes, there's hard seltzers, yes, there's spirits, but who's behind all those things? Because you may see all of these things and all this beautiful artwork, but who's behind it? Yeah. And are they passionate about what they do, and do they enjoy what they do? So humanize the brand. So those are our four main things. And then we do that by monthly objectives, which is so fun. They mostly get hit. Highlighting the product and making sure the messaging is out there, get it before it's gone. Because sometimes you need to put that little timer on it so that people are like, oh no, sense of urgency. Amber has 2 moms. We release every June, and for Pride Month, but we actually have been brewing it year round now because of that lovely little cheeseburger with the little redheaded lady. That was part of the blend of beer that we did. So it has been a year round draft form, but every June we release it in can form, and then a portion of those proceeds benefits Indie Pride. Yeah. So, and we're almost out of it, and it's June 16th. Yeah, it's gone that quick to let people know that they need to come in and get it before it's gone.
Sense of urgency.
So, hyping up whatever the upcoming product is.
It's coming soon. Don't
teasers.
Forget. Yes.
So we do those teasers, trailers, teasers. Yeah. And we have I'll use the example, we have a new sunlight variant pack that's getting ready to be released. And we teased it a couple weeks ago. And I think literally every day since, we either get a phone call or I answer something on social media saying, is it available yet? Is it available yet? Is it available yet? And it's like, this is why I have a hard time doing teasers, because people want instant gratification. And sometimes you have to teach them that they have to wait a little bit. And that's also part of marketing.
But that's so good.
Yeah.
Right? Like you want them demanding the product and super excited.
And it is coming out really soon.
And then they go and look for it every single day. And then they buy more.
And then they buy something else. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it might not be.
Yep. I love that.
Yeah. And then, we're really bad about actually bragging about ourselves. And
yes, we are. We talked about this when we worked with you.
And that we have all these award-winning medals and for the beers that we've done. And we also do a really bad job of talking about our community impact all the time as well. So,
well, because you don't want to, like, back to the conversation from like 2016, you don't want it to come across as you bragging, because you're not doing it for bragging rights. You're doing it because it aligns with the core values of the company.
Right. Yeah.
And you don't want to put out like a brag book.
Right.
But at the same time, if you don't share the information, people don't know.
Yeah.
And then when, such and such comes in and says, can you give a donation to this? Oh, no, we can't give a donation to you specifically for that cause, but listen to what we have done for that cause over the last year.
Yeah, here's an example.
Right? So like that is one of the things that I think came up for sure when my students were working with y'all earlier, a few years ago, and want you. You've gotten better since then.
We have definitely gotten a lot better with putting that impact out there and putting the messaging out about award-winning beers.
But it's tricky.
It is, and believe it or not, like you can only use. I'll use Great American Beer Festival as an example. You can only use that logo for that whatever award that it on so many things without having to pay for it. So we can use it once on packaging and once on marketing materials. And then after that, then you have to start paying for it every single time. So if you go and you pick up, for example, if you go and you pick up Sunlight Cream Ale, which is the #1 sold Indiana craft beer in the entire state of Indiana. But if you go and pick that up, that we actually have the 2 medals that we've won for GABF on that packaging, because it is something that is very important that it's out there and that people know that we've won not 1 medal, but 2 medals for that beer. As we are right now recreating how our packaging looks, so that what it looks like when you grab it off the shelf or out of a cooler case. We are actually adding that into some of the other things that we've won awards for. So we won an award for our pachanga.
My husband loves that. That's his favorite. We pretty much constantly have it year round in our refrigerator.
But we are adapting it and putting it on the packaging as well. So we are doing a little bit more of that, letting people know where. Yeah,
it's not bragging, but it's sharing information.
Right. So yeah, hyping up the product, letting people know of the different draft variations and other fun things that are coming out. We have a whole series called our Sun King Kings Reserve series. Those are our experimental beers that come from barrels, whether it's a wine barrel or rum barrel or a whiskey, bourbon, et cetera, et cetera. So those are some of our fun, funky, fun things that we love to do too. And then I guess next step would be driving people to our tap rooms. Excuse me, we have 6 different tap rooms, and every single one of them is completely different from each other. Like no two are alike at all. Sorry guys.
Yeah, I've been to several of the locations. And you're right, they're all very different. So we're sitting at the Fishers.
We're sitting at Fishers.
This downtown feels very different. Carmel feels even more different.
Each one has their own unique little twist to it that still makes it
feels like something. It's branded.
Yeah, exactly. This location that we're sitting in, we opened right before the pandemic hit.
February.
So actually it was October before, and then world turned shutting down and everything started happening. And we're still in the middle of a pandemic, but we created this space because we wanted something bigger than our original space that we had on our 96th Street location. The concept of having a small batch brewery came here too. We are actually able to put in more capabilities of brewing here, which makes it so awesome. But it's smaller scaled batches of beer that we can no longer put into production at our downtown location, because that location primarily focuses on our year-round beers.
Yes.
In our larger seasonal releases, we lovingly call that the Mothership, because the Mothership is like where everything started 12 years ago. Our Brattleboro location is now our Brattleboro Barrel House. We house barrels there for one beer specifically. If you've ever heard of Cherry Busey, which is actually our most award-winning beer, it's won multiple different medals. You'll see the Cherry Busey barrels hanging out there. We have a partnership with Kokomo, Indiana, which is not located here in central Indianapolis, like area just north of here. It's an old train depot, and it actually used to be a different brewery until we came into partnership with them. If you walk in there, and this building just has history oozing out of it. It's such a cool space if you ever have the chance. Yeah, and they have a very small brewery system there too, much like our old 96th Street location. It's a small scale. And then lastly is the Carmel location, which you mentioned, which is actually our distillery. So it's got its own feel. It's got its own multi-level patio hangout area. There's a beautiful plaza out front where a lot of people think that we own that, and we don't. It's actually the city, but it works out to our benefit that there's a fun place for people to go in and hang out and play and everything too.
So in talking kind of about the social media and the different ways and different things that you've started promoting on social, what has been one of the most surprising successes? And what has been one of your most shocking failures?
I would say, where did I put that in here? Just so I can make sure that I'm staying on par to where I said that. Where'd that go? Oh, here it is. I would say that our most recent successes would be the Seven King Meet the Crew. And again, that's humanizing our brand. It gives everybody the opportunity to meet the people behind the beer. I've had so many people say that they miss it because we kind of did away with it during the pandemic, because it was hard to actually do that face-to-face interaction with each other and see what was behind the mask. We have a lot of folks that are still with Seven King that we will revisit some of those folks once I relaunch this, and then we have quite a few new folks that I'm really excited about introducing everybody to.
Y'all been hiring. I've been sharing those posts.
Lots. We've been hiring a lot. I think everyone's hiring a lot. Another recent success of ours has been our Love Local campaign. Each year we would do, in February, we would launch a customer appreciation month. And again, the whole word pivot had to happen again this year even. We were like, well, what can we do to highlight our community, highlight what we love, highlight in a different way other than just giving back to our customers? Oh, I have a way we can do this. We can do this by launching this campaign of showing that there is this local love with working with each other and partnering with each other. So we started off with highlighting some of our partners. We do 2 different popcorns with the brand Just Pop In, highlighting that we use Limelight Coffee in our When the Lights Go Out beer. And, just finding those and highlighting some of those, we kicked off that way. And then that spun into doing these awesome local giveaways. Who doesn't love free stuff? Seriously, everyone does. So once or twice a month, we will partner with somebody local and we'll do a prize pack of some sorts. The insights on it as a marketing person in the brain, like that. Oh my gosh, the analytics on it are outrageous. It's so amazing. We just completed one with Indiana Sports Corp, who's a partner of ours. Their Indy Ultimate event is this weekend, and it's also the same day as our anniversary party. So it's early in the morning. Go to the Indy Ultimate, stay downtown, go eat, drink downtown, and then go to the Sun King party, because there's such an initiative to get people back downtown Indy. So it just seemed perfect to launch this for our anniversary and tie it in that way. So that one has been a huge success. I would also say not on that level of things, but one of the things that I love the most is our 10th anniversary. We did a collaboration where we released this pack of beer that had 4 different collaborations in it with 4 different breweries. And we did this entire campaign where we called it Join the Convoy. So it was literally these trucks kind of pulling through with the name of the beer and the brand, the style of the beer and everything. That one was another one that was such a fun campaign to design and create and then actually put on social media, and people loved every minute of it. There's that whole teaser thing.
Yeah.
Started teasing it out, and then when that released, people were like going bananas over it. Yeah. Fails. We oftentimes laugh at our own jokes.
I think you're funny.
And we think we're really funny.
Me too.
My fiance is really, really good at that, but so is Sun King. We used to yearly do a huge April Fool's joke where we would spend all this time and effort putting together these like videos, and we would script things out, and we would be like, oh, this is gonna be so great, and then like we would release it, and it was like we laughed, but then ultimately we would look how many people viewed it, and we were like, maybe we shouldn't do April Fools anymore, which was something I'm sure that some of the students on this call probably know that in 2020 into 2021, they were saying that April Fools of the years past is not the thing anymore because of cultural cancel culture and et cetera, et cetera. I can't remember which car.
It's all the things.
Yeah, I think it might have been Volkswagen saying that they were no longer going to make this make model, and it was an April Fool's joke, and people went all kinds of crazy bananas over it. So things gone wrong. Don't do a social media campaign on April Fool's Day. Just kidding. You still can't, but maybe think about it before you put it out there. So.
Okay, so you have told us that you guys are kind of on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Why are you on each of them, and what do you think each kind of offers?
Sure. Most of our fans pick one or more social media platforms. I'm very, very bad about using my Twitter account, but I still am on my Facebook account because that's where I get so much news. But I'm on Instagram more because why? There's pretty pictures and videos, and that's where I can go down that rabbit hole of researching something, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been looking at this like for 3 hours, and I didn't realize that I was looking for ideas for my wedding or whatever, like, and then you just go through that rabbit hole. We really have to be aware of what we do because we're alcohol, and there are certain guidelines that we have to abide by that Facebook already has in place, Instagram already has in place, and so does Twitter. So it makes those 3 platforms an easier platforms for us to use because those things are already they're already established. And you have to be 21 or older to follow our pages. Like it's a button that you click, and then that's why. Where with Snapchat, it's not. TikTok, it's not. Like those things are not regulated, and we talked about it in length on if we should do these things, but it's just like, well, we don't want to get in trouble for targeting or promoting to an audience that's not the proper age.
Yeah.
So.
And one of the things that I noticed, because this past this past spring, we had a chat with Clay and Dave, and then following up, our students then had a discussion board related to the content kind of that they had discussed, and they were tasked with something. I don't remember what it was at this point, but a lot of the students were like, oh, get smashed, and what it was the Final Four.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Your Final Four flight, and what they should be called, and what they should be involved in, what should be in that, and they were calling it like smash flight and all about getting drunk, and that
it is a big no-no to promote overconsumption of any way, shape, or form.
Right. And so the students this summer semester for social media are going to be working with one of my former students who is opening a cider brand down in the Cincy area. And he's 2 or 3 years out still, but he's trying to understand the landscape of what the social media should look like. And so these students are going to be developing content for social media and all associated with either where he is now in the development process or where he's going to be
That's fantastic.
pretending like he's already launched.
Yeah, that's
right?
fun.
And I think it's, yeah, it's
Yeah.
super cool. So I think that it's really important for the students to understand that, like, while college students want to get smashed, you can't, as a company, as a brand, you can't promote overconsumption.
Not at all. So playing Flippy Cup in a lifestyle photo shoot, like you can't, you shouldn't do it. You cannot do it because those are things you have to abide by with the ATC and with the Brewers Association.
Tell them what ATC is.
The Alcohol Tobacco Commission.
So everything has to be following the guidelines associated with ATC.
Okay. So if you question it at all, then that means you probably shouldn't do it.
Yeah. And that's really different from a consumer perspective, right? Versus the marketing perspective. Like, do we want our students to get smashed? I don't think so, but we know that they do it. It doesn't mean we should promote it.
We're not gonna like take a photo or take a video of someone cracking open a beer and shotgunning it at the Indy 500. It's not a thing. We can't promote it.
But they do it.
But they do it.
Right. And we know they do it.
And
so,
you can tag us in it. We just can't repost it.
Right. And so, like, I think it's really important for them as they're thinking through, like, and as you're talking through some of these stuff, to be like, yeah, alcohol leads to certain things if you overconsume, but as a marketer, that's not what you can promote. Right? You can promote the flavors. You
Drinking
can promote,
responsibly.
yeah. And everything has to be centered around. Like, that's why there's all these TV and advertising campaigns about, like, consume this product responsibly.
And if you notice, more times than not on those commercials that you may see, no one's actually drinking the brand. They get really close, and then it normally cuts away.
I haven't noticed that. I'll have to pay attention. And that's because they want to demonstrate
that you're drinking responsibly, and that you can still have a good time with your friends and your family, and not consume or not overconsume. So, yeah,
interesting. See, that's really
vibing is okay, but on a smaller scale.
Yeah. So, like,
it's
something that I feel like I still don't necessarily always completely understand it.
Yeah.
Right.
And it even goes down to what you can and cannot do on billboards, to print ads, to, yeah. And I have a lovely little binder if anybody wants to see it on the things you can and
that information.
If you have access to the Brewers Association, you can print out those things.
Okay.
I believe that you can go directly to the Alcohol Tobacco Commission and type in to advertising, and then there should be something that pops up.
That's good.
How much has been regulated, I'm not 100% positive. I know the Brewers Association is getting ready to change a couple of things due to just with a lot of companies and organizations really honing in on what their DEI commitments are. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, and making sure that they are actually doing things properly. The Brewers Association is also making sure that brewers and spirits have the same thing. They have something that's similar to Brewers Association. Brewers Association is a little bit more known than the other ones called disciples. But yeah, you should be able to go in and tap into that, or you could probably reach out and say that you're a student and that you're doing some research, and somebody will help you because education. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So, who do you consider to be your target market?
Everyone that's of legal drinking age. One of the things that's so great about Sun King, if you walk into any of our tap rooms, you're going to see a very wide range of humans here. You're going to see freshly 21. You're going to see grandma and grandpa. You're literally going to see everybody in between. I know that one of the things that we've talked about before is the breakdown of who our audience is on social media.
Yeah.
It is predominantly men.
Really?
Still.
Okay.
Even though women are more times the decision maker when it comes to going shopping or picking up beer or whatever.
Well, they do the purchasing.
They do all most of the household purchasing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird when you see that breakdown. Again, I always think that that's fun to look at those analytics on what that breakdown is, and it's not that far off. It just skews more towards.
So you have some numbers for
so on Facebook, the breakdown is 43% 45.3% on women and 54.1% are men. So slightly skewed to men. Mostly over 20% of the men are ages 35 to 45. And I think that we've retained that because a lot of these people have grown up with our brand.
Yeah.
So they started drinking when they were 25, they were a YP, a young professional, and then they have continued to keep it always in stock because they knew that they fell in love with Sunlight Cream Ale, or they maybe fell in love with WeMac, and now there's so many other things that are happening, like other brands that they're now exploring and trying some other things.
Right.
Again, that's why I said, like, most of these folks have either tried or their parents have had it in the fridge, and then now they're able to do it. So we're gaining that, closely followed by like the 45 to 55-year-old range, like that was just shortly after that. Instagram is even closer on that gap. So it's 47.1% are women and 51% of men. Our highest age range for men and women, both are 25 to 35. So that tends to be what Instagram is anyway. Right. And then very closely to 35 to 45. So still kind of in those kind of same age brackets, but honestly, we market to everybody. So there's no two posts that are going to be the same because everyone's drinking. We want everyone to feel comfortable drinking our beer. We don't want it to be just a hype wagon beer where it's fun for a minute and then it goes away. Does that make sense? It does. Okay.
And so is your content different because you know that your audience is different on the two platforms? Do y'all do different content at different platforms?
I do. We do sometimes. Sometimes it's the same all the way across the board. Like,
it's way easier to do it that way.
Yeah, it's way easier to do that way, but oftentimes I do try to mix it up just a little bit, or we try to mix it up a little bit where there is something that's specifically created content-wise with maybe it's an Instagram video, but I don't put it on Facebook.
Sure.
Or on YouTube, I link it back to we have a YouTube page, but I link it to our Twitter, and then I may not share it on Facebook. So it really depends on what it is and what we're trying to do. Like today, I put out, it's beautiful out today, you guys. It's like the best summer day ever.
Just like yesterday.
Yeah, just like yesterday, where it's like, we don't blame you if you play hooky. We promise we won't tell your boss. And
just play hooky.
Yeah, and just play hooky and just make sure that you grab some sunlight in your hand and have some additional sunlight to your day. So, but that's an easy thing to do all the way across the board.
Sure.
Our upcoming anniversary party, that's another one that's just going to be something that's just all the way across the board that, we want people to buy tickets.
Yes.
How many ways can you say,
buy a ticket,
all that, buy this ticket. So it depends on what it is that we're creating.
So you manage your social media. Just you now.
Just me. Yeah. Yep. Oh.
We are, see the light. Okay, so what is the voice of your brand on social? Because you talked a little bit about your ethos.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your voice and if you actually have like a persona, because we actually met at an AMA event where there were 4 different marketing managers for 4 different brands.
Yeah.
And
that was actually one of the questions that was asked.
It was. That's what I'm asking again.
Yeah.
Because I'm talking to Leah next week.
Okay. So, and it's funny that you bring that up because I was thinking about that. Yeah, because I answered it exactly the same way that I'm getting ready to answer it. No, not at all. Where she was just like, it's not always the bearded dude. I'm like, well, see, then that's why we do what we do. We are very non-binary when we post. Yep. It's not directed towards a female, a male. It is directed to everyone because we really truly believe that y'all means all. Y'all means all. And we want to make sure that everyone understands that they are invited and that we want to, and they're included. That's who we are. That's who we always have been. We are very heavily involved in our community. So pushing out that we're in the community, be in your community, go, do, eat, drink, play in your community. You can do that with Sun King in hand. It doesn't have to necessarily be at one of our locations, but by golly, if you're going to the Indians game, why wouldn't you grab a Sun King while you're there? Yep. Enjoy again the beautiful day that it is today.
Yeah, it is so pretty.
And then we also engage through what we just talked about through our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yeah, and making sure that we are staying true to those things too, because again, there's a misconception in the craft beer world that it's very dude. And it is always going to be very guy eccentric because it's just the way that this industry has been for so many years. But it's not true. There are a lot of women in craft, and we join together and we work together and we have to work together. You don't have to have a beard to be a brewer. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you don't have to have a beard and be a dude to drink craft beer. There are craft
You don't have to have a beard. Is what she's saying. Beard to have a beard.
Well, yeah, I guess you could. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we really try to concentrate and make sure that we are
On ethos is what I would say.
and making sure that we are staying true to that and not
Authentic to who you are.
yeah, and staying true to who we are and who we are to the community, to our community as well.
And I think that that's really important because especially for a company getting ready to start all of this, right? Like nailing down the components of what make you who you are and staying authentic to that across every touch point with every consumer in every manner that is consistent. We call that integrated marketing communication.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, and it's not just on social media. No, it's also
everything.
This literally everything that we do up here. Like
all touch points.
Oh, and we do sensitivity. Like if we come up with a name, we will run it by people. We'll make sure that it's not just the marketing team that's coming up with this, our creative team that's coming up with these names. We come up with artwork. We'll run it by a sensitivity panel as well. We want to make sure that whatever it is that we create is gonna stay true to us and our brand, but not going to like ruffle anybody's feathers and be off-putting because our ultimate goal is to sell beer to everybody.
Yeah. Okay, so where do y'all get your content inspiration?
Yeah.
Well, y'all being you.
Yeah.
Since we know it's you.
Well, but it's not just me. I do work really closely with. So I'm very fortunate. I have an art director who is a great graphic designer. I have an in-house artist who does most of our artwork. He's also an illustrator, and then I have a full-time videographer and photographer. So we have these brainstorming sessions. We meet twice a week where we actually sit down. We call it a creative meeting versus calling it a marketing meeting because it's just we do admin one day and artwork the other day, so it's not just stale and boring. And I don't call it an agenda; I call it a to-do list because that's the way to keep my guys motivated. Yep. So we oftentimes bounce ideas off of each other. Music has always had a huge impact on Sun King and what we do.
We're at a lot of festivals.
Yep. We sponsor a lot of music shows and venues and
entertainment.
A lot of entertainment, which goes hand in hand, music, beer, having a good time. But we also share music with each other and listen to music, and that may lead into, we're here in Fishers, Jake, he listens to a lot of like dark metal, and then sometimes a dark roasty toasty stout comes out of it because he's listening to something certain that day, and he's like, oh, I came up with it, he got inspired by like whatever that was. If you look at some of the things that we've named beer wise, we definitely have taken some things from favorite song lyrics and things like that.
I do that actually with my publications as well.
Yep.
Almost all of mine have musical lyrics, and my most recent one that unfortunately got rejected the first time, they didn't get it. It was play on Ariana Grande's 7 Rings.
Really?
Yeah, it was. I like it. I want it. I got it. They didn't get it. They're like, I don't understand what this.
Do you listen to Ariana Grande? They're like, no, pop.
No, it's social media. I like it. I want it.
I get it. Yeah.
I purchased because of what's on social media.
What social media?
I thought it was perfect.
I think it's perfect.
I was shocked, but yeah,
you might want to trademark that.
It's fine. So like jumping into, I love that, right?
Yeah.
It's just fun that like I love music. You guys always have music on in all of your tap rooms. We actually had to turn it down to get started.
Yeah.
So what's your social media policy? Because you guys have a ton of employees. And they could arguably all be taking pictures and posting at any time and tagging y'all or wearing your content, like wearing your stuff.
Yeah.
What's your policy?
We understand that working for Sun King is fun, and being on social media is supposed to be a fun thing. And it's a rewarding way to share what's going on with your life. And that's why you're on there, is to share who you are and what you're doing and the experiences and the adventures that you have with your family and your friends and your coworkers and whoever, right? We all know that posting things on social media has its risks at times. So you just really need to make sure that there are 3 guidelines that you really live by. And these are the 3 guidelines I would always say to remind yourself. Use your common sense.
Hopefully you have some.
Yep. Beware of any privacy issues and play nice and be honest. If you are worried if grandma sees the post, then you shouldn't post it.
Yep.
And it just goes down to simply that. Like, if whoever someone that's really important in your life, you would be embarrassed if they saw it, then you probably shouldn't post it anyway.
Yep.
So always keep that in mind.
So that's kind of your policy for your employees.
That's our policy for employees too. We do break it down that, like, we still encourage everybody to take the photos, but we ask them not to share anything until something has already been shared, because we have had it before where somebody has gotten excited about it, and then we're like, well, we haven't even created the campaign, we haven't even talked about this marketing wise. Also, like, your job comes first. If it's not your job to be on social media, then maybe you shouldn't be posting during the day when you're supposed to be doing your actual JOB. Yeah. And then you also need to be aware of not letting your emotions get in the way of what you're posting about too. Within the past couple of years, we all know politics were very, very heightened election, and there's definitely a huge divide. So staying away from that. Don't talk politics, don't talk religion, don't talk race. Those are some of the things that you should be aware of not overly posting about, because
as an individual
and as a brand.
And as a brand.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Because if you take a stand, you're going to have to stand behind it. Otherwise, you're going to be apologizing and you risk losing isolation.
Yeah.
You isolate someone that might have been a very loyal customer.
100%. Yeah. And that's the last thing that you want to do.
I think Chick-fil-A saw that.
They did. And we all saw what they ended up doing to try to better that.
Yeah.
And did it work? For some it did. For others it didn't.
It'll never go back.
And you're never going to make everybody happy. And that's also what you have to remind yourselves. Like, you're going to, unfortunately, haters are going to hate.
Yep.
They're going to hate. And then you're going to have people who are loyal, who are going to stick up for you and going to talk about you positively, even if something bad or something it was reflected poorly upon you.
Mm-hmm.
And that certainly happens, and that has happened to some kids. Like, we're just as human as everyone else,
even though it's just a brand, it's just a company, but it's a company ran by humans humans are imperfect, so there's always going to be mistakes.
100%. Yeah, and we're supposed to be allowed to, and we can only learn from those mistakes and try to make ourselves better.
So what is your policy like if you make a mistake? What's the misstep? What's the way y'all handle it?
Each of our employees that is a full, they have to sign a social media policy, and they are asked to take it down. They are brought in. It's kind of like that check when you're a little kid. If you get 0 checks at the end of the week from your teacher, then you get to pick a prize or a book or whatever it is, or you could stand in the front of the line. It's the same. It's just like you're not. It's gonna take a lot to get fired for you doing something if you don't feel sorry about what it is that you did, or if you didn't realize that what you did was something that was wrong, because not everyone knows and understands alcohol.
No.
What the guidelines that we have to abide by the Brews Association and by the Alcohol Tobacco Commission, because those guidelines are, and I want to touch on this again, portraying beer responsibly, which we talked about, supporting purchasing at a legal drinking age. Again, that's why we're not on TikTok and we weren't on Snapchat. And then being truthful statements about the product, because you should never talk about somebody else's beer. You have to make sure that when you're marketing it, like hard seltzer is gluten-free and it's low in calorie. It's not going to make you skinny. And, you know, like it's not.
Even though it doesn't have those two things, you're not gonna lose weight.
And it may have no sugar in it, but you're not gonna, you know, you can joke around about, you know, obtaining that bikini bod by drinking a low calorie beer or a low calorie seltzer, but like you have to be truthful to what your marketing is. Well,
yeah, truth in advertising. It's the whole thing.
yeah.
Okay, and so you kind of started already going through your social media guidelines. Are there any more that you think, knowing what they're getting ready to jump into, are you any more of those guidelines that you think might be beneficial for them to hear about?
I would definitely say no, don't post anything about financials. That's a big no-no. Any strategies or forecasting. On this one.
Oh, any of them. I was just noticing those two seem pertinent.
Yeah. So I guess that, yeah, did that. Job comes first.
Did that. JOBs first.
JOBs first. Employees or official Twitter users for the company are identified as such may do the following: reply to customers, help promote product of accounts, time out company releases, talk about company events, talking about community partner events. So these are all things that are approved.
But that has to be your job.
That has to be part of your job. So our sales representatives, I would say, those are the ones that would fall into this, or one of our owners. Clay has a Twitter account that he hasn't used in ages, and Dave, I made him one. Dave's our other co-founder. I made him one, and he said that he would start tweeting if he gets 1,000 followers. And I say this every time that I do any public speaking about social media, and he still has still not 1,000 followers. But anyway, and then you know, we want people to be able to use social media to talk about what they do, and I mean, your job, you're at a cool job. We had a cool job. We're always encouraging our employees to be brand ambassadors, but do so with those things that we talked about. The guidelines. You know, drinking responsibly, you know, hanging out with people your age, and contributing to minors drinking.
Absolutely.
And then most importantly, I think we touched on this a little bit, but like if you mess up, correct it, acknowledge it, own it, and be clear about what you've done and fix it as fast as you possibly can. So
yeah, I love that one. That's one of my favorites. So thinking about all these different accounts that you use with all these different posts, and you've talked a little bit about analytics. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what measurements and reporting y'all do.
You know, it keeps changing.
Of course. And
Facebook and Instagram have changed it yet again on what they're going to allow to collect again for you. So, I look at post engagement.
What's engagement to you?
So engagement can be impressions, engagement can be likes, engagement can be tags, engagement can be people sharing it. It really depends on what it is and what the promotion is. So going back to our giveaways, if I look at a giveaway on Instagram, and that's where we mostly do our giveaways now. We used to do it on all platforms, but Instagram seems to have the most engagement for us when we do these giveaways. People are used to it there, and that's why they go back there to do it and to look for it. The most recent one we did, the last time I had checked, I think we had like over 950 likes, over 1,000 tags of friends, because we allow people to tag their friend. We normally do these by follow, like, tag.
Yep, that's always the three things. And if you're partnering with somebody, it's do the same thing to them.
Yep, exactly, because you know, if you're doing something cross promotionally, the goal is to cross promote your brand and get each other's audiences to follow, like, and become then a loyal fan of yours too. So definitely look at those things there. Twitter is a weird one. Twitter, I guess I mostly look at it as if people are retweeting what it is, or they're interacting with whatever it is. If you ask them a question and they're engaging in that manner, Twitter's just always been weird. Twitter's just always been weird. To me. But we also use HubSpot, and HubSpot has built-in analytics too. And that's one of the reasons why we use it. So if I need to, we have a monthly newsletter. If I need to go in and actually look at the campaign and I tie that campaign into other social media campaigns, it'll break it down. Where I mentioned the party pack, like I will do one for that just to see what that looks like so that we can see who's talking about it, where is it, you know, where is it mostly being talked about? Is it being talked about? Is it just Indianapolis that's talking about it? Is it Florida that's talking about it? Are people in other cities, states wanting it? Is there a way that
It's like that grapefruit thing that you're getting ready to launch in multiple locations.
Yeah, grapefruit jungle. Yeah, with GFJ. Like that one has always been something that's been a fan favorite, and it's been our most, for years now, it's been one of our most highly anticipated beers when we release it, and people go bananas over it. Why? They go grapefruits over it. Yeah, that one's definitely one of them. So yeah, I mean, it really depends on what it is, and it really depends on what Dave or Clay or my VP of sales might need from me, so that we can work with our distributors on something as well.
Do analytics drive the type of content that you create?
No.
But if you see some type of campaign has been super successful, do you mimic it?
Correct. Yes.
So kind of.
So yeah. Yes.
You keep your creativity, but if you've noticed that X, Y, or Z works well, you will recycle in new ways.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, which I think is important, right? Like if you figure out something that works well, you're going to keep using.
Yeah, and and I know this isn't totally social media based, but newsletters are also important to have.
Why?
That's another group of people that you're engaging with in a completely different manner.
How do they get them?
You sign up for it.
Email.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that is you've allowed yourself to sign up for it because that's the information that you want to receive. We only do it once a month now. We used to do it weekly.
That's
and then we used to do it bi-weekly, and then I tapered it down to once a month. And since I have done that in the past like year and a half, almost 2 years now, our open rate is through the roof
compared to once a week.
Or even other industry friends that are doing it and that send out stuff and where I'm like, oh, we have a 40 to 50% open rate. That is unheard of.
What's normal?
About 20%.
20%. So if you're above 20% on an open rate for an email campaign, yay! Hey, that's
2 thumbs up.
That's good information to have.
Yeah, and then and also looking through those click-throughs as well. So again, there's that call to action. Is it to buy tickets to our anniversary party? Is it to purchase a new really cool Sun King t-shirt, or which you guys can't really see my t-shirt.
That t-shirt's awesome. I'll have you stand up in it.
But going through and looking at those things too, because when I was first tasked with my job, they wanted it to be a bi-weekly, and then we worked with an agency and they said, no, you should be doing this weekly. And I don't know about you guys, but I find myself signing up for things and then I feel like I'm getting over communicated to, and then I unsubscribe.
Oh yeah.
And we are able to retain those folks because we are not over messaging them.
Like everyone else, maybe.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Yeah. Okay, so 2 more questions. So utilizing social media for several different reasons. We jumped into that. Yeah. You dug into that. Have you found that any one of these 5 pillars, raising awareness, influence desire, encourage trial, facilitate purchase, or create loyalty, any one of that specific type of content seems to work best for you?
Loyalty has always been really huge for us because in the very beginning days of Sun King, we relied on guerrilla marketing. So it was word of mouth. And then that trickled into being word of mouth through social media as well. The taking the pictures, the tagging pictures, the using of the hashtags once hashtags became a thing. Like it, it's always been, we have loyal fans, but we always are trying to grab new audience and create new loyal fans and keep up with the loyalty of the brand.
Okay.
And also staying true to who we are.
Your ethos, is driving your communication.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna 2 things because we talked about one. One, if you were back in college, could do anything differently, what would you do differently?
Party less? No, just kidding.
No, not that. What if you say party less, but why? You can say that. That's totally fine.
I mean, I didn't really party that hard, but I mean, I did, but I didn't. I mean, I went to IU.
Yeah. Ball State supposedly beats it, but
and I was Greek at IU too, so it was even more partying. But anyway, I digress on that one. I wish I could roll back time just to educate myself more, to actually
get more.
to get more education. Yeah, I have always been a busybody, and I will always and forever be a busybody. But one of the things that's always been important in my life is education, and I think that I took it for granted that I was getting a college education and everything, and it was right here at my fingertips, and I could have taken more classes to get me to where I am today. Not that my sociology classes didn't. I was also on the path of being an elementary education teacher, so I was double majoring. I didn't take my first business class until I was a senior in college.
Right. And our students are different because they're in my classes now.
Right.
But like, go take a search class. Learn about
Do it, people.
What drives people.
Mm-hmm.
Go take an anthropology class.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I loved it. That was one of my favorites.
Religion classes are actually fascinating too.
Yeah.
The history of religions are fascinating. Yeah, that for me.
Take lit classes, even though it's not required for you. Like, do it because it's
you're writing content. Like, you have to be
absorb.
You have to be able to write it properly.
Yeah.
Right. I wish I took a linguistics class, which was odious. I hate linguistics. But had I paid more attention and worked harder in those classes, I would be a better writer.
Yeah.
And being a better writer now,
I probably would have taken a journalism class too.
Yep.
And just even done journalism 101, just so I could see what goes on in the brain of observe, write, turn into story.
Yeah,
which
me
I
too.
Which I kind of do anyway.
You do,
but
you totally
yeah.
do. But you never took a class on it.
No, I didn't. I would definitely do that different. Yeah, I would definitely do that different.
I love that answer.
Yeah.
Yesterday or the other day when I did mine, it was break up with someone sooner. And I was like, yeah, toxic.
Yeah,
hormones,
I
growth.
correlated that a little bit too.
Whatever. Okay, last question.
Yeah.
Favorite song right now, or top three?
Ooh, so
I post a song every week from this student.
top three.
Doesn't have
So
to be new.
I have been listening to. I've had this anthem. If you guys are familiar with Explosions in the Sky, when I need to get SHIT done, I throw on Explosions in the Sky. It is all instrumental. If you've ever watched the show Friday Night Lights,
Yeah,
it's the theme song.
Okay.
It's Explosions in the Sky.
Okay.
There's just something about it that actually gets me motivated and keeps me on track,
Okay.
and allows me to sit down and tune out the rest of the world because there's so much noise. Where I will be turning that on as soon as I leave this conversation today because I need to get stuff done.
Yeah.
So that, gosh, let's see, what else did I this is so funny, but Whitney Houston's I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Always play it.
It's such a good song. And I say this because like I hopefully one day we'll be able to plan a wedding that I've had to postpone. And I know it's like one of the most cliche songs, but whenever it comes on, like Andrew and I literally like stop
dancing,
and we're like, doing the curls, like whatever, like we both just stop and we start laughing, and it's a moment to, it's just a moment to be like, dang, Whitney was awesome. 1, 2, this song is awesome. It can just relate to whoever is in your life that you want to just like stop and dance with. It doesn't have to be your significant other. It could be your best friend where you're just like, yep, let's dance, let's go dance. Yeah, oh, 100%. That's on like one of those love song things.
It's fast. It's fast.
Yeah. But right, but you're in like that love, like a silly thing called love. Let's see, what's another one that I've been playing a lot lately?
Or just kind of like one of our all-time favorites. It doesn't have to be like you've listened to it recently.
Kings of Leon has come back up in my top favorite of things, and it's not any of their newer stuff, it's their older stuff. Yeah, so go to Aha Heartbreak and turn on Taper Jean Girl and just crank it up, or crank up Molly Chambers, or like their old stuff. Just, I don't know, that's a
resonate.
Yeah, and it just gets back in and it gets me motivated. The same way kind of the Explosions in the Sky does. Like it's something I can turn on and tune out and turn it up, and I feel good, and windows go down, some roof goes open, and you're just like, yep. And then that's when some of your creative juices can start get flowing again because you're listening to music and you can take whatever it is off of music. So
Awesome.
I love that.
I love it
question.
so
That's
much.
fun.
Yeah,
I could talk about music all day long
Yeah,
too. If I
that's
weren't in beer, I'd probably be in music. So
it's not mutually exclusive.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your
Yeah,
time.
thank
It was
you.
so
It's my
great as
pleasure.
always
Yeah.
chatting with you, and bye y'all.
Bye, guys.